What's it like then coming in into this show that sort of has to be part of the franchise, but also has to be its own?
Yeah, the nice thing is that CBS Studios and Paramount Plus gave us a lot of latitude. Because early on, we all sort of agreed that we didn't want to do a case of the week for Paramount Plus. That we know that the audience for a streamer watches the shows differently. You know, for instance, I think you guys, this is not a secret, that on September 4th, you're going to have all the first 4 episodes on the same night. And to me, even though we didn't know that when we were developing the show, we strongly suspected that that would be how they would do it because they'd done it with other shows. And it led itself to a single plot over 10 episodes. And I really appreciate their willingness to kind of bend the franchise rules, because every other iteration of NCIS has been Case of the Week, which is great. And I love watching Cases of the Week because it's like the perfect little meal. But I also love the emotional kind of rise you get if you plot 10 episodes correctly. You get a real climax. Not good.
What about this show apart from the characters is NCIS? You see?
I can't tell you. It's a spoiler.
But is it like the same vibe or the same type?
I would say totally it's very similar. I mean, what I always loved about NCIS, all the versions, is that they were funny. They didn't shy away from comedy. It wasn't just relentlessly dark. I couldn't write that anyway. I can't write no joke, no joke, no joke, dead body. I perfectly respect people who can do that, and they probably make more money than me. But what's bonded Michael and I as friends over 31 years is our shared sense of humor. And what always impressed me about watching him, and then later Cody on NCIS, and Mark and David McCallum and Brian, is how they used humor to make the characters more human. So you can put them in the most unbelievably huge international stories. And it's the humor I found that grounded me as an audience. Similar to, like, if you take humor out of James Bond, it's not going to work. Take humor out of Indiana Jones, it's not going to work. It's in all really, I think, elevated entertainments, because humor is such a part of normal life, it has to be in there. And I'm so lucky to have 2 actors who are like just masters. They're amazing at making the humor feel not forced, natural, part of their character, part of the world.
What was it like filming in Europe, in Hungary, and getting a chance to go film and take these characters into out of America?
I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was. I've produced a lot of TV. I produced a movie. I've shot on. I think I've probably shot in every major city in the U.S. and Canada. But I was really sort of unprepared for a couple things. One was what a long flight it is. And in fact, you have to change planes, so it's even longer to get to Budapest. But then I was somewhat unprepared for, because I didn't really know Budapest before we started scouting it. It is an incredibly beautiful old world city. The primary architecture is Beaux Arts, and it was designed by many of the same architects who designed Paris. So every once in a while you walk around a corner and you see this just block of buildings, and you're like, wait, am I in Paris? Am I in Belgium? And that was really interesting, just visually, to go out with the director of photography and the director and the location scout, and to be introduced to just a visual palette that was completely different than anything. And I was constantly adjusting the scripts to accommodate that intense beauty and that intense exotic quality that it has. And then I had no idea what the crew was going to be like. I'd heard great things. I have many friends who shot there, including the line producer of the show, David Rosemont. But you don't know until you know. And by the time we're on the 3rd day of filming, I'm like, I never say anything is the best. I simply say I've never worked with a better crew. I've worked with crews as good. I've never worked with better crews. I've never worked with better actors. I've never worked with, more diligent and responsible department heads. Because my main thing on the first day of prep is I have a meeting with all the department heads, about 40 or 50 of them. And I just say, look, yeah, we want to make a great show. Yes, we want to be on budget. Yes, we want to be on time. And I say, what is the most important thing? That at the end of the day, you get home to your family and you're safe and you're healthy. And they kind of grabbed onto that as a mantra. And in a way, I think it made them work harder. Not that they needed help, because it's a hard-working culture. But it also made them aware that their lives mattered to us, as human beings. That we weren't just kind of stomping in as Americans, going like, "Do this, do that. Where's my hot dog?" That it was immediately with Mike, because Michael and Cody are also executive producers. We wanted the set to be congenial, professional, and safe, and we wanted to shoot good film, and I think we did, and no one died.
How daunting of a challenge was it to bring these two beloved characters that we haven't seen together in quite some time together for this new show?
Yeah, I mean, I was highly aware of kind of the responsibility, but I also couldn't let myself think about it too much, or I would freeze up. Luckily, Michael and I know each other so well personally that I can write him very easily. We sound a lot. We don't sound like my voice is higher and not as mellifluous as his, but we sort of make the same dumb jokes. We sort of have the same pattern. We sort of have the same obsession with trivia, especially anything to do with like spy movie trivia. So I would feather that in, because they had feathered that into NCIS Mothership. They let Michael be Michael. And then the other challenge was getting to know Cody. And I immediately went, oh, she's like, in a way it was like the opposite of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Michael is Katharine Hepburn. All over the place. And she's like Spencer Tracy. And it's hilarious. It's really, there's a line in the first episode, I'll preview for you, where they end up in a situation where Michael says, so let me get this straight. Because of the way things are, you, Ziva, have to be incredibly charming, and I have to kick open a door and kick ass. And he goes, not ideal. So it was taking those characters who were so well wrought and so well established, and just then finding ways to flip and deepen, and in some cases just go right for the cheap joke, which they were always up for.
Going back to the single storyline throughout all 10 episodes, how hard was it to take characters that are used to being in singular case episodes and creating storyline that carried for 10 episodes?
It wasn't. That was not as hard as like figuring out the plot. Because I wrote the pilot in 2022. And I set up a lot of, like, what is this and what does that mean? Why are they in the church? Are they getting married? Are they not getting married? I had no idea what episode 2 would be. I wasn't even sure if the show was ever going to get made. And when they greenlit the show, I had both a sense of elation and total fear. Because I felt strongly, especially having watched a lot of episodes of them, and knowing them both at that point. I've known them at that point for like 2 years. I've known Michael for 31. The character stuff did not daunt me as much as like, what the hell is 9.4? Who is actually deploying it and why? The stuff with their daughter, with their relationship, that was fun. That was fun to write. I would love to write a movie or a TV show something where there's no plot. It's just life. Because plot is just a ball buster.